All right, we're live recording. Let's kick this off and get to it.
Cool. Super excited to chat with you all. I've been spending a lot of work in the last couple of weeks making slides and animations for some upcoming conference talks. If you're in New York for AI Engineer Code Summit, come say hi. We'll be hanging out. I'm doing an MCP debate on Thursday. Apparently, I am framed as the anti-MCP guy now, which I feel like is not accurate, but we'll be leaning into that one. So come see. I think it's gonna be streamed too. Come see me and Ian argue about whether MCP is good or not. Anyways, I've been working on a lot of slides, and a lot of people ask me how I make them, and it's a fun little combination of like AI assisted changes to existing open source libraries. It's a bunch of Claude code pipelines and slash commands. So I figured I would show you all how that works today, and then we can walk through exactly how it works, kind of under the hood, and how it fits together. So I'm going to do what we learned in demo school, which is they call it start with the end in mind. So if I pop over to our handy dandy whiteboard, I'm going to just do a simple diagram. Vaibhav, what do you want a diagram for?
Um, let's do a diagram for how we do the setup for this talk that we usually plan for. So the
Right.
emails, everything
Okay.
else we do.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we have like episode name, episode description, and then we have the like
Links.
next week's link. Oh yeah, so it's like next week's episode name, next week's episode description, next week's like sign up link. This is how we generate the email that comes out every week. Um, and then we also take in the like last week's YouTube link. And so basically we want to write an email that is like, here's what we did yesterday and here's what's coming up next week, basically. From last week's episode. So we have like an AI generated summary from last week's episode, and then we pass this all into draw this in. We pass this all into a like custom Claude slash command, and what we get out of this is some metadata and some what else? It's like the for the next episode,
It's
which
metadata
causes
for
it
the
to
next
show up
episode.
here. So this site is all based on a bunch of like code that basically reads JSON from the AI that works repo. Let's see. Where does this live, Vaibhav? It's like in each folder, right?
It's in each folder. You can go into it and you can click on the meta files. So you read
Yeah.
this meta file, it pulls out all the data, and then it writes that into a giant JSON file that's on the root of the directory.
Yeah. And this
And that's how
powers
we
the
produce like
RSS feed that is this thing. So it shows here's the
exactly.
upcoming episode and all this. And it also powers the read. It also like updates the README, right? It's like
Yep.
next episode, building an
We
animation
turn the
pipeline. So all
JSON
this
into
is,
like a
sorry, go ahead.
we turn the whole JSON into basically a bunch of different outputs for different viewing systems that people might want.
Yep. So we get the metadata for the next episode and we get a draft of the email recap, right? So like the
Yep.
summary and the YouTube link and everything that's coming next week, this sets up the repo. I think it also does it update the metadata for the previous episode too, right?
It does update the metadata from the previous episode and generate the README for the previous episode.
Ah, okay, cool. Amazing. And I'm just going to color code these a little bit. So the stuff for the previous episode will be in blue, and the stuff for the next episode will be in red.
Maybe make the Claude Shosh command. Uh, yeah, let's make that one like white. Yep, exactly.
Okay, cool. So here we have like kind of a fun diagram, right? And this is actually not what we're talking about today. I just needed something that we were going to draw. So what I can do is I can save this, and this will download an Excalidraw file. right? So this, if you look at this file, I think maybe we can just open in VS Code. Let's see what we got in here.
It's a giant
Yes.
XML file, I think, right?
I think it's JSON, but yeah.
Oh,
So it just has like data about all of these
yeah.
objects and when they were created and their timestamps and the colors and all this kind of stuff. So this is the full drawing. You can upload this from scratch. This is every single thing. This is enough to kind of restart it or re-upload it or export it or whatever it is. So what we can do with this file, though, is there's a cool project called Excalidraw Animate. A random thing I saw in Hacker News like 9 months ago that I've been kind of hacking around with ever since. He has a hosted version of it where you can drop in your file and then it will animate it. And so this is going to actually just look at the timestamps on all the objects and then draw them in order so that you can generate cool little images. And it has this feature, you can export this to a SVG. You can also export this to a WebM, which is what our custom code is going to do. So you give it a tab to view. I think it's why
Maybe
can't
make it
I?
just point it to the podcast. Yeah, sure.
So what this is going to do is literally like share your screen and record the animation and then convert it to a WebM, which is like an MP4. It's just like a web video format.
It's a really clever hack of how to generate a WebM.
Yeah, it's kind of unhinged. And so now it's exported and I think we should be able to download it. They updated this. Yeah, export to WebM. There we go. So this is my like so yeah,
And now
so
we
here's
have
our
a
WebM file. So you can put this on YouTube. And so like when we go on YouTube and I go human layer, maybe it's at human layer.
it's at, yeah.
No, this is somebody else. Is it human layer dev?
Yeah, know your channels.
I don't know my channel. All right, we'll just go to YouTube. I think we have it. Yeah,
It's
your
right there.
videos.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can just take these WebMs and upload them directly to YouTube. So here's a bunch of stuff that I've been working on. So you can kind of just come open this link. And this is what we end up using in slides and Google Talks and things like this. So this is like, how do you compress context from a bunch of repos? This is irrelevant also to what we're talking about today. But that's kind of the basics of it. I got really annoyed because I made a lot of these and I didn't want to come here and upload files and do all this stuff. So I have a fork of Excalidraw Animate, which we'll put a link to in the code, where we built a headless version of this. And so I'm going to show you kind of this one was doing some research that we'll share as well, which just explains how it all works. But what I'm going to do is, let's see.
While you look this up, I think
Yeah,
half the battle here is honestly just about knowing about the right tools to be able to use. So what's funny is
yeah,
like we could be talking about how to animate Excalidraw videos, and every one of us will be like, "That looks beautiful. That looks great." But if we don't know about that new tool that does Excalidraw animate, we probably would have just not even either come up with the idea ourselves, or even have done it, or even have like done the extra legwork to go build that kind of tool chain.
yep.
So I think it's just
Um,
really interesting to show the marriage of like regular software with like what we're about to do, which is like some sort of automation on here.
yep. So this is the prompt. I'm actually just going to show you how it works. And I'm going to give it the file. What was the file we made?
That's in
It
your
was
downloads, yeah.
workflow.excalidraw.
Yeah.
Workflow.excalidraw. And we'll put it in desktop. And so what this is going to do is it's going to read a bunch of tools that we built, and we'll walk through like each of these tools and how they work. But I just kind of want to show you what the end result is. Is basically this is going to use my fork of Excalidraw Animate to do the WebM recording in kind of a headless way with a headless browser, or not headless, but a like using browser automation. And then it's going to what is it going to do? it's going to let's just put this in bypass permissions. It's going to take that like video and ask me to review it, and then if it works well, then we'll ship it to YouTube. And so it's kind of a full end-to-end pipeline of going from the workflow to YouTube in one go. And so the basics of this is like you have your like file.excalidraw. The model's going to read this and some tools. And then what Claude's going to do in order is CLI command to upload the video, and then, or sorry, to generate the WebM.
Yep. And that means it's going to use Playwright and a bunch of other things, I'm guessing, to go do that.
I don't exactly remember what it uses. It's whatever. It's literally like I did a research plan implement of like, here's what I want to be able to do. And then I had Claude go build it. So yeah, so here it is launching the browser. It's doing all of this in a row. I also added flags to be able to control the animation speed. And I also found issues with it doesn't load the Excalidraw fonts well, and I was too lazy to go figure that out. But here
Okay.
we go. This thing ran the script and it did all the stuff, and now it has a file. When it's done, it's going to actually like tell me where it is and like ask me to confirm. Okay, cool. So it's
So
tilde desktop. Yeah,
we'll actually go on. I'll let you keep going on.
yeah. I'll
I have
just
a
finish
couple
the.
questions about this workflow as you're doing this.
Yeah.
Because my first question about this workflow is like, wow, this is incredible. Why run it through Claude? Like, why not just write a bash script that just does this? Feels like a very, very linear flow.
It's a good question. Yeah, it could probably just be a bash script. Let's try
But
it.
it's not about that. What I'm trying to ask you is like, what do you think was your intuition? Like, there must have been some benefit that you were getting in the beginning by doing it this way. Um,
I
and
think it
like,
was really like Claude was making edits to the tools and adding CLI flags and like figuring out how to run the stuff. And so I never even like ran this CLI myself. Like I was having Claude edit this like fork of Excalidraw animate and then run the commands. Like I don't even know the syntax of this. Like Claude designed the syntax of this and built it for itself.
I think that's actually the most interesting part here. Like, this tool is awesome. And I suspect hopefully many people want to go do this. And like, maybe we can turn into a simple bash script. But I think the real benefit here is kind of similar to like, I think someone else might ask a very simple question, which is like in the very early days of Python, why you write this in Python when you can write this in C? And like you could save so much more memory about it. And perhaps almost the question I'm asking is like, why are you burning tokens every time you run this when you can just run a bash script? And maybe the fact of the matter is like what you're really buying here is you bought time to not have to think about a task. You let it be fully automated. And now whenever you go into it, you just run kind of like a slash command, kind of like a CLI command, basically.
Exactly.
And that slash command operates in a way that allows you to, one, continue treating this like a batch script, but also remind yourself that like you, if you need to, you can always adapt the workflow on the go. Like maybe there's a new command you need.
Yeah, and we talk about this also in like 12-factor agents of like basically like the valuable thing that LLMs can do is turn human words into JSON, unstructured data into structured data. And so, for example, if I said that was too fast, I can say like make it slower.
Yep.
And this is literally just going to redo the generation with a different speed param.
To be fair, I could also do up, dash, dash, speed slower. And like that can also do it. But
Yeah, if it's at the end, but what if it's in the middle? And you got to remember, yeah, I'm with you.
it's just work. I agree. It's a
Yeah,
different kind of work that you have.
yeah,
And I think what's interesting about this whole system is like, as a developer, it's almost like your personal mindset has shifted. Like the fact that you and your brain were not even instinctively like, hey, I could have written this as a bash script. You were just like, I'll just do this and I'm done. I solved my problem. I'm going to move on. I
yeah.
think that's what software is about. And that's kind of what you're doing here. Like, it probably cost me like X dollars or X cents to run this every single time. And in your brain, you're just like, work. It's fine.
Yeah, not my biggest problem. On to the next thing.
That's kind of what I'm realizing. And like that mindset shift, I think, is the most interesting parameter here.
Yeah, and about probably 2 out of 3 times I try to do that and it like doesn't go well. So I thought this one was interesting as one that did. Like I'll be like, cool, let's see if AI can just write the script for this and do it and solve it for me. And this is how we develop all the tools, right? Like I think the the LLM is more useful in a tool like, hey, fetch all my calendar events and then summarize them for the day. Like, yeah, I can write the tool to do that, and then it can go do the thing. Um, but the other thing that's cool here is like, it's, when I regenerated this, and then when I'm ready, I don't go do a bash script. I'm just like, okay, upload that bad boy. Let's see if this will send. So what this is going to do is like go and like, I don't have to like go get the file path that was generated output and pass it as the input to the next command. Like Claude is just kind of ferrying those like pointers through the different like tool calls for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's abstracting away a way of thinking that you don't have to think about anymore.
Yep.
That I think is really interesting. Now, I have a couple more questions about this. So I think the most interesting thing to go here, I don't know if the other things you want to show, but I have a direction I'd love to take this in,
Let
which
me just
is
finish the demo and make sure this is working, and then
cool.
let's dig in. So yeah, it says it's uploaded. I think it takes like actually a second to process, but yeah. So here's the video, and then I can go pop this in, slides.new, and I can insert a video, dump this in, and now you've got a handy little animation for your talk. And we'll do
That's
play
sick.
automatically, and then we'll do slideshow, and this should just pop up. I made a little. Yeah, usually we make it bigger, but yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah, that's the workflow.
So first, yes, I like people want this, and we should put if you're down, we should just put the prompt and the workflow in a folder in the new
Yep,
episode, so people can have
we'll
the
just
full
put it in the
thing.
new episode. We'll put the prompt.
Exactly.
I think I can also even just share the tools. These are all in like one of our private repos that we use for doing lots of stuff with YouTube. But yeah,
I think
this
that'd be
is
great.
like cool.
But I have a separate question now. So
Yeah,
here's the direction I'd love to take this, and I think people would really enjoy seeing this done in real life, and it would be valuable to me as well. More importantly, which is what I want to see is how would I go take this workflow? And one of the most annoying things about Excalidraw diagrams and these animations that you're making is obviously I want to change the order and the semantics of how these animations happen. Let's do it.
yeah.
Can you do it?
So I will show you my workflow for this. It's pretty jank, but basically it comes from I've been hacking on this in a while, and I happen to know what the Excalidraw format is, and kind of took a guess at how the tool was working under the hood. But you see, you have all these elements, and one of the things on the element is updated, and this is like a Unix timestamp.
Yep.
And so this tracks. Actually, I think it's not updated. I think it's one of these numbers in here. But basically, like, let's say I wanted to redo this animation, and I wanted to do like,
I want to show like all the blue stuff first.
yeah. So then I would basically take everything else. I'm going to do a janky version of this. But I would take everything else and I would like command exit to remove it, and then I would paste it back in. And now these things all have new timestamps, basically.
So first, let's try that. See if that works on Excalidraw
Yeah,
Animate.
yeah. I'm
You
going
can
to
get
get rid of
yeah.
this, and we'll save this. And I'll just say now do workflow2.excalidraw.
And what I really want to see is I want to be able to modify the Claude code command that you have
Yeah.
to go edit in this way. Like I want to be able to say, hey, I want to modify all I want to make all the blue stuff go first.
Okay. Yeah, I
That's
mean
what I want to see.
this is a big ass JSON file, so it's like a lot of context and probably hard for Claude to reason about, but I actually
Let's
don't know
try.
it. Yeah.
How would you go
We could
about
do it.
this?
Yeah. Um,
Because even in the world that you did, you actually did it the opposite way, where you accidentally swapped the order
yeah.
yourself. And I want to
Yeah.
literally look at your workflow for adding that feature in.
Sure. So this is a research thing where I basically actually happen to have done a research on the whole system, and it wrote this big ass research file. I still have plenty of context left, so I'm just going to resume from here. But like, well, let's make a plan. I want to build a tool in Excalidraw Animate to reorder. Well, actually, what I would probably want to do is like summarize the elements as markdown, and so the model could basically like swap things around.
I think Vaskin's key here is actually the most important part. I think this I actually slightly disagree. I think it's actually this JQ is key.
Ah. Interesting.
JQ,
So the problem is
but
I don't want the model to read all of that JSON because it's going to eat
it
a
doesn't have
like.
to if it does JQ. Have you JQ should summarize. Anyway, we can. Why don't we just put a research plan to try the a research to go figure it out and see how it could go reorder the elements. And like we can use JQ, we can use Markdown rendering, we can basically do anything else we want on it and try. But JQ,
Yeah,
I think, is structured grep is the right way to think about it. Oh yeah, Vaskin just said that.
I'm just
Where'd
gonna.
it go? But again, I think it just goes down to a couple of different things, um, where it's really about like knowing these tools. So like Dexter, your default is to think really hard about thinking about like using Markdown because that's what you've been doing for a while. And Baskin probably has used JQ quite a lot. So it feels much more intuitive to think about it. And it's just a matter of tools and exposures.
So JQ is good, but yeah, you're right. You could use
And
like
it
so
might
if
be
we're
a
gonna figure out
combination of
one
both. It might be a combination of both that actually is most relevant here.
with a human during reordering to script or JQ command to um, what is it? A script or a JQ command. Make sure you understand how Excalidraw anime decides the order to render animation elements in.
Why create plan and not research code base?
Because in this thing, I literally just did a research code base, like before we started the episode. I just said, like,
Okay,
read the Excalidraw animate command. Give me. I
got it.
figured it would be
Okay.
useful for this episode.
Okay, cool.
Um,
Nice.
yeah. So let me just pop back to the end here. Make sure you understand how Excalidraw anime decides the order to render. Shuffle them around based on human feedback. Remember, this will be used with a model like Claude Code. So it is not appropriate to read the entire JSON file or write JSON directly. JSON must be summarized by bash or scripts, and JSON must be written by programs, not by models.
Um, yeah, let's see what it does. And then we'll see what this
Oh, and
comes
I
up with.
forgot one thing. I forgot the magic words. I've been finding more and more that the it's really valuable to just kind of give a little bit of extra guidance on these things, no matter how much you put on the prompt. It could be really valuable to just say like work back and forth with me and start with your open questions and phases outline before writing the plan.
Oh, yeah. And you want that to be basically the most recent token at all times.
Yeah, basically it's like, yeah, it's in the prompt, but yeah, putting it at the very end as like the most important instruction never hurts. All right, let me just double check. Okay, yeah, it's only reading 200 lines like I told it to. And it should get enough of the shape.
You can just ask it to generate a JQ command to describe the schema shape, by the way. And that would actually give it everything without actually reading the full shape. And I bet the keys are good enough.
Yeah, I think that's right. Okay, yeah, so that was reading 200 lines was about 3 or 4% of our context window. So, but in this case, I think it's worth it. Like sometimes you just want that context in because it's relevant.
Yeah, I would have actually
Okay.
read the whole window because just so it knows because like recursive structures get really complicated in Excalidraw.
Yeah, I don't
And
use a lot of recursive structure. That's also part of it is just like keeping your Excalidraws simple and like focused.
okay, that's a good point. Yes, you can constrain it from the top level because we're not trying to build a general purpose tool. We're just trying to like
Yeah.
we as users can constrain what we do.
But like also like here's another like this is a really small simple one. Oh my god, Google wants to know that it's me. They're going to kick me out again. Like here's like a much more complex like video that has like hundreds of elements in it. All right.
Praveen asked a question: what apps do you use to do audio to text? I personally use Whisper. Dex uses Super Whisper. Honestly, I think any of them are really good enough. Uh, Voice to text is a pretty good problem. There's open source options, there's free options, there's local models. I personally don't think that there's any huge win on any one of them. I just hate
Yeah.
changing my workflow, so I we'll just use the app that I have been using for a while.
Yeah. So here's the other one we launched where we made all the blue ones come first, basically. And I
Yeah.
didn't mess with the arrow.
Well,
This is also like another thing where it's like, okay, yeah, you're right. It would be nice to have a script where I could just be like, make all the
yeah,
arrows come last or something like this. Like getting the AI to actually manipulate the contents of the animation is a funky
yeah.
one.
And I think that's where like the superpower of AI does come in a lot more. It's like, oh, that is suddenly good. Or like, hey, all the arrows should just pop in at once.
Yeah.
Like there's small things like that that we could go do. And like I
Yeah,
don't know
I've
how
messed a
Excel.
lot with like doing like AI assisted modifications to Excalidraw animate. Although last time I tried it, I was not doing RPI. This was like in like February or March. So we'll see how this plan comes out. But cool. What else
It's
do you want to see?
well, I think that's probably the most interesting thing. I really want to see a workflow of how you iterate on this and how you actually make progress. Because like for me, that was the most insightful thing when I first like tried to do vibe coding. Because I've said this many times, like I have never felt skill capped in producing code. I have always been able to produce more code. I like my skill cap has been the rate at which I can type code in, not really the rate at which I can think about code. And AI, when it first came out, it still did not feel like it unblocked me. Like cursor tab complete was the most I really used for a while. The agent workflow was just not that good for me. Like even Claude Code on its own never produced great results. But at some point, I think I saw you work with AI and I was like, I can do a lot. And now I can find that I can parallelize like 3 or 4 tasks in parallel when I'm really focused.
This is the thing you're talking about. I mean, like we talk about of this a lot, which is like one of the key insights is like don't outsource the thinking. Like you need to bring your taste and your craft and your ability to design systems as an engineer. And like what AI does is it can read a lot of code really fast and it can write a lot of code really fast, but like the code won't be good unless you are thinking about it and working and engaging and
Exactly.
reasoning about it. And because the actual coding part is fast now, you get to spend more time doing high leverage stuff like thinking and planning and designing. And okay, so what you're saying
Which
is
is a
basically like
lot more tiring.
and in the old day when you were capped by the code, you would like be writing code and you would only have to think as fast as you were able to code.
Yeah. Which just wasn't that fast. Like I'm not what I would say like a crazy fast typer, but even the fast typers type at like 100 words per 120, 130 words per minute or whatever it is.
Yeah,
But it's not incredibly fast.
yeah,
Like if you ever use your stats in Whisperflow or any of them, they're naturally be like you're talking at 200 words per minute easily,
yeah. There's some people. I
and
think
you're
Whisperflow even had like a leaderboard where it was like, here's the fastest talkers in on the app.
exactly. And it's rare that anyone is talking at 30 words per minute.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the other thing and
Yeah.
check it out.
I was going to say, yeah, this is also the interesting thing about like using AI to code is you end up with like these downtime points while the agent is working. And if you're pairing on it, then it becomes very easy to just sit and engage on the problem and think and reflect and like front load some of the thinking for the next step. But if you're doing this alone, I just end up checking Twitter or email or something. So
Yeah, and
I
then
think
you're
these
just
workflows work a lot better with two people.
yeah, I think so too. And then you end up in a world where basically the old XKCD, my code is compiling meme, just
Yeah.
becomes a reality since my agent's generating and you just go and waste time for a while, which actually, and funny enough, makes you more distracted when you go read the final plan that comes out of the model. And then you're producing even worse quality content because you're not actually reading because you're already distracted and you're coming back to a very low engagement task in the form of reading. And therefore, you're
Yeah.
actually producing worse output. And then you're like, this stuff is not working.
Yeah, no,
And I
talking is way
think
more engaging, and arguing and debating how which library to use and all this stuff. I think
exactly
is
like
a
even just
useful
us
way to
talking about
stay
like
engaged.
Markdown or JQ is they will
Yeah.
make us want to go read that in a little bit more detail on what the plan was.
What other things might you want to tell it? If it's asking for like what kind of human interactions do you want to be able to do?
Yeah, I guess that's good enough.
Okay, this is
Or
going to be a
yeah,
little bit janky. I haven't. We don't have time to do like the full whiteboard and design the heck out of this system, but it's a good idea. Content is essential. XY position can skip. Animate order is fine.
yeah, we literally just need to animate the order and perhaps choose what to animate and what not to animate. or maybe that's not the right word. Maybe what I want to say is like I want it to be able to build a logical flow. So like it might be useful for the model to decide that given all this content, here's the order in which stuff should be rendered and make its own decision on the ordering.
Oh, I actually kind
Right.
of
And
like
that
that.
sounds super useful too. Like it's just like then I don't have to think about it. I can just build the diagram and the model will just figure out the ordering automatically for me.
Of elements, etc. Okay, cool. Grouped handling. Don't worry about grouped elements. That's out of scope for now.
Yeah. Groups elements. Yeah. That's I guess it was thinking about nested questions right away.
This is the other
And
magic
a lot
word
of the
is,
stuff,
yeah, go
what
ahead.
did you say? What's the magic word? I want to
I
hear
was just
that
going to say
first.
a lot of times it tries to put, we got to update kind of the base prompt here, but a lot of times it will try to put all the testing at the end. And it's like, no, I want you to write a unit test in each phase.
Yeah. What's really interesting about this whole thing is just like just how much downtime there is. I think the most important thing about these workflows is people should be parallelizing stuff. You should never be working on one thing at a time.
Yeah. I
It's
do
just like
find though
way
that
too much
like,
downtime.
even if I'm fully locked in, like, and I'm doing complex work that requires a lot, I mean, if it's just little bug fixes, like we have a linear board where we just kind of like push them through this workflow and we don't even open them in code layer. Um, but yeah, if I'm like locked in and doing things really, like two is still the max for me, I think.
Dude, get good. I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah, you're doing four in parallel.
Only I can't. It's too much work. It's like I have to be really focused. I literally have to have no distractions. I can do that only on weekends.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like if I have 4 hours on a Saturday, I can sit down and just crank through and like
Yeah.
fully lock in.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Element filtering. I don't care.
Um,
I don't know. We don't have
yeah.
time for this.
Okay. Yeah. No, what I found personally for myself is, at least for us, we're doing a lot of like complex like compilers work right now and type systems
Yeah.
work. And that is not very, like if you go check the YouTube channel, there's a couple of videos about this. We've been building an incremental parser. And
What
what
does
that
that
means is
mean?
like yeah, in VS Code, when you're writing code, you typically don't want your autocomplete to reset every single time without having to, every time you change any you type into the keystroke. So that's what the current BAML LSP does. Every single time you type code, it regenerates a whole system. It regenerates autocomplete every single time. What we're doing now is if you change a character or two, it'll only regenerate parts of it. And what that means is one, we'll have way better errors. So as you have errors, we'll still like if you're rendering, let's say you're rendering one function today and you're rendering a prompt and playing around with that prompt and you start editing a different prompt.
Yeah.
Currently, the old
You
function may
recheck
break if you write
everything.
syntax. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's either if something is broken, nothing works, which is a fine way to write the first version of the compiler. But we're actually redoing that
Yeah.
to make it incremental. So like it's like in TypeScript, when you make a syntax error, it doesn't break everything. It only breaks part of the code. So that's actually what we've been working on, and it's Claude Code has been. I don't even know if we're using pure Claude Code. I think we're using Claude Code Codex. People on the team use different things, so there's no actual prescription, which I think goes to show
Yeah.
that there's no specific tool chain that's actually better than the other. I think they're all pretty much about the same in terms of correctness.
I mean, I think the a thing we talk about a lot with that is like I think you get more benefit out of picking one tool and sticking with it. And it's like you said, like right, the best way to get really good at LLM programming is to build intuition. It was the like machine learning engineer that you used to work with? It was just like, how do you know this is better? He's just like, I just know.
Vibes.
Like I can't explain
Yeah.
it to you. Vibes. Having the vibes on how Codex behaves really, really down, or how Claude Code behaves really, really down, is so much more valuable than like having some crazy min maxing thing where you're like, I use Claude for this and Codex for this and Cursor for this. Like
Have you found the vibes to be that different?
between Claude Code and Codex.
Codex, Cursor, any of them. I personally have not found it to be that different. Like they mostly serve my needs, and like maybe there's nuances, but not in a way that's like for example, if I work with any of the engineers on our team, obviously they all have
Yeah.
differences. But in
Yeah.
general, like they're all really good, and like it doesn't really. And yes, in extreme scenarios, certain people are really good at certain things. Like I am not a detail-oriented person. You don't want me doing a
Yeah.
final release checklist. I'm
Yeah.
horrible at that. On the other hand, like Aaron and Sam, who's right there on my team, they're extremely detail
Yeah.
oriented. Like if you give them a checklist, if they say the checklist is done, it is done. And I think
Okay.
I just don't see that much of an extremeness in coding agents. But maybe you work with them maybe in a different parameter.
I mean, there's a lot of cases where I'll be like, I know my instincts with Claude, and my instinct is like Claude would get this wrong, and Codex can get it right. There's also a lot of things where it's like Claude would get this right, and Codex will get it wrong. It has a little bit less to do with like coding problems and stuff. It's a little more meta of like if I come on the like human layer prompts and stuff, like you'll notice some of these prompts are like very long sets of instructions. And what I've noticed is like a model like Sonnet. So there's like context gathering, and then there's reading all this stuff, and then there's like doing discovery with the user, and then there's like planning the structure with the user, and then there's like writing the whole plan, and basically like and then there's like syncing and reviewing with the user, and all these guys. Basically, like if you give this prompt to Sonnet, there's a 50% chance that by the time it gets to step 3, it like forgets what step it's on, and there's 2 more steps
I
versus
see, I
like
see.
a model like Opus is really good at like long horizon instruction following, where it's like it can use 30% of the context window and it won't forget what the original instructions were. And
Yes,
like
but that's like
I
a
imagine
model
Codex is similar, but
capability.
it's a meta vibe thing. That's not like Codex is better at TypeScript and Claude is better at Python or something, right? That's a
I
model
see.
thing.
Yeah, and maybe what I was thinking about is like if these coding agents have two different dimensions to it. One is
Yeah,
like the coding agent, like the actual prompt that the coding agent has and the tools it has, and the second dimension is the
yeah,
model it uses. And they're kind of
yeah,
orthogonal because you can swap one
yeah.
out for the other. And at least for me, I actually stopped using Opus. I actually use Sonnet now a lot more because it's just faster. And
The speed is definitely like an interesting bit of leverage because the faster you can iterate, the less it matters that the
exactly,
first part was correct.
exactly. And then we'll see if this what progress is made. And the other thing that I found is interestingly enough, like the actual coding agent and the tool harness actually don't seem to make a big difference to me personally. Like they all seem the same. Like I actually find myself, funnily enough, like I do use CodeLetter for almost every complex research task I have, just because it's easier to work with Markdown files in
Yeah.
Obsidian, and you guys do a great job of making that capable.
Oh, I got a new
Um,
feature for
but
you, by
like,
the way.
oh,
Check
I'm
this shit
excited.
out. You can now open your files in your default editor just by clicking them in CodeLayer,
Ooh, that's
which
gonna be
I
awesome.
guess shell scripts open in Xcode for me, which is terrible. But let me go change
Um,
my.
wait, is there a
Yeah.
button there for Excalidraw?
You want to open a file in Excalidraw?
Yeah, for Markdown files, of course I do. Excalidraw is the best
You
way
mean
to read Markdown file.
Obsidian?
Obsidian, sorry, not Excalidraw. Obsidian,
All right.
Obsidian.
Yeah, send us a PR adding Obsidian. We'll take it.
I love Obsidian for reading Markdown
I
files.
know. No, I was just gonna say this is gonna go rip through the plan and build write a bunch of Python that is probably gonna be
Yeah,
slop because we didn't actually do the thinking and we didn't read the plan because we're in a hurry here. But if you want to see us actually go through this workflow, we do an episode like every 6 weeks where we just sit down and code for 3 hours. So you can catch one of those.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think it might get further than we think on here.
Yeah, we'll see.
Um, but my, I think my real question here is like, as this goes ahead and generates stuff. Sorry,
Okay,
my
cool. So
point
it
about
is like
like what
making
I
this
found
like
is like,
JQ script.
yeah, exactly. I think the thing
That's
that I was
cool.
mentioning earlier about like these coding agent harnesses is like for really small tasks, what I find myself doing is I just want the lowest UX friction to make the task happen. And that has been a game changer in terms of productivity.
Yeah.
So like for like super simple documentation tasks, I was like, I just used what's it called for
Look
super.
at this
What is
shit.
this in?
It made a regex to capture the element type and where we're moving it
Oh
to.
no, it did not use LLMs.
No. Yeah, it didn't understand. Like I said, like
Okay,
this is not a plan that I would
yeah,
try to rush through in 10 minutes because it's quite complicated, but it is doing things. So It's
Okay.
funny. We can come back and iterate on this.
Okay, we'll probably have to go and iterate on this. I think this is
Yeah,
the thing where it's like if we observe this, like I would just stop this. It's probably a waste of money and tokens to let it keep going.
that's fair.
Um, I probably won't do anything because like the minute you recognize that it's doing something wrong, it's like doomed
Yeah.
effectively.
Yep. That's the other thing we've been like doing a lot of talking and like coaching about too is like there are a bunch of different levels of wrongness. And like if you're like in the middle of implementation and it finishes a phase and it's like 95% of the way there, go fix it in cursor yourself. Go open VS Code and change the thing. If it's like 85% of the way there, maybe you just polish it just like in the same session, be like, cool, I don't quite like this. Can you make the UI like square corners instead of round corners? Like you're not going to go edit it, but you're going to just tell Claude to do it. If it's even worse, maybe you say, okay, cool, phase one is done. We're going to add a phase 1B that is like the polish part because you want it to use the research and actually plan it out and iterate on it. And then if it's way off, it's like 60% there. It's like, cool, actually, we need to throw out this code. We need to throw out the whole plan and take what we learned in phase one and apply it to build a new plan because we realize that like it's easier to start over than to try to recover this like bad trajectory.
Also, I just want to be very clear for anyone that thinks that this might be us not talking about this and like just like talking about it and be like, hey, it didn't work here. Like we do this for extremely complicated tasks. So for those of you that don't know, uh, why is
Are you
this
guys
even
using
morning?
the thoughts tool, like the CLI or whatever?
No, we just use Obsidian
No,
and edit and we
you
push
just
to
have a
repo.
synced Obsidian thing. Okay, cool.
Yeah. But we do sometimes share with GitHub. What we do is like to give you context on what this is, Salsa is a library in Rust that allows you to do like caching and a bunch of complicated things for like compilers and ASC stuff. What we're doing is we're basically mirroring what the Rust compiler does and a lot of what BAML's compiler does under the hood somewhere. Where'd it go?
Cool.
Rust. Analyze. Yeah, so we're literally just using Rust Analyzer as like a base for design. We're using a lot of like UV Astrals technology as a base for design because they're also built in Rust. And we're taking all the learnings from it and just applying it to like some of the more complicated things we do in BAML now. And we literally generate this whole file using AI. And there's a ton of mistakes. Like I'll be very honest with you guys and share the full thing if I can. General uh, language. Sorry, and to make sure that I don't share something that I'm not supposed to. Um, where like we talk about this, and I'm like, hey, this is a vibe coding artifact for this stuff, and I'm very clear about this. Um, but it's just like, yeah, but there's stuff missing, and we recognize that stuff is missing. We're just making progress on it. There's another thing where it's like, hey, this looks off. Yep, we just know that's wrong. So we're not actually expecting these documents even to be 100% correct because the amount of effort it takes to be 100% correct is just way too high. We just need them
Yeah,
to be directionally perfect.
you want the plan good enough that like you can, if there's any issues, like if you're 90% of the way there, like the final issues can be resolved in line and you won't have to like throw it out and start over. That's the
Exactly.
definition of good enough. And this is when I talk about vibes and like getting a feel for one model and what it's able to do is like understanding when to just talk to Claude versus when to add a new phase versus when to just throw out the plan and start over is like vibes, and you just like have to put in the reps to get the sense of that, and like it takes repetitions to make it work.
Exactly. And there's no real shortcut to this, but like the level of complication that you can do here is like this is not trivial Rust code. Most people will never write a compiler. Most people will never write an incremental compiler where you have like a very little where you have the ability to use leverage past edits by the user to not have to rebuild the whole compile code chain. So the fact
Yeah.
that like we're able to go build this completely from scratch and like take advantage of LMs to go do this, I think this would have been easily a 6 month work item beforehand. We're bucketing this to be at most 2 months. And there's just no shortcut for any of this stuff along the way. What's cool is I'll show you guys some of the interesting stuff that this leads to when you go do
Yep.
this. But obviously, what we want to go do is like we want to have a really fast developer loop internally for these kinds of workflows. So how do we have fast developer loops? Well, how do you have incredibly fast developer workflows here is like, well, you have to build internal tools. And you can see some of the internal tools that we build. So we have a whole bunch of testing suites that we built. But then Greg literally spent like a day and a half building out this internal tool, which allows us to go ahead and see really quickly the diff As you can see over here, he typed out some
Is this
code and
the
shows you the diff
AST
between the. It's a, well, no, it's called the CST, which is slightly different than the AST. And you can watch those
concrete
videos and
syntax
understand.
tree?
Yeah, you can understand the difference between that. That's more nuanced. But you can imagine that while we're building this out, editing this tree is really hard. And knowing what this version was versus the previous version of it was on the previous edit of the source code is really hard. So here you can just we built a snapshotting tool where while you're developing, you can be like, hey, is this editing the right things? So what we actually built is like a whole tool chain so that you can actually really quickly understand the diff between systems with a color coded syntax. So as you go type something out, it shows you color coded what you added. But obviously caching is a big part of this too. We can also view what was cached and what nodes were reused really quickly by doing the color highlighting. But this whole tool chain is vibe coded. 100% of this. I say vibe coded in the sense like not in the dirty way that people describe it, but in the nice way. We're like, we actually put some time into it. We did this. And again, normally a toolchain like this would be weeks of effort, or like at least a week of effort. It's not trivial. But because of like kind of these software practices that we have, we can get into a world where like this is almost like an expectation for someone to go build out now. Like build things that
Yeah,
make
you are
you
expected to
work
use
faster.
AI. Yeah, you're expected to use AI to build tools that help you like keep that iteration loop tight. I'm curious, has anyone
Exactly.
tried to expose like parts of this tool to a coding agent and let the coding agent kind of like iterate and be like, hey, here's how you'll know if it's working is if the final thing looks like this, and just like run back and forth looking at the CST and the diff in a loop?
So when I showed this, this is what happens. But again, coding agents are not very good at UI stuff. So what we
Yeah.
actually have um, is a slightly different thing. We actually have built something that does do that. And again, this is where
It's just
knowing
a
the right tool
CLI it can
chain.
run.
This is where knowing the tool chain can make a huge difference. But having a tool chain here, where'd it go? Uh,
Yeah, what does this look like
having
when
a
you
tool
run
chain.
it?
Uh, what you have is for every single test case, you have a bunch of files, and every single one has a snap file. And every time you edit it, it creates a snap.new. And and what that does is the LLM can now go like and say like if I see a snap.new, then there's a delta between what I have stored from my last snapshot and what the new version is. So you can use that
This
to
is sick.
incrementally grow itself. Yeah. But
This is
we
sick. Yeah,
spent like
that's
a long time setting up the testing infrastructure for this. I think if I show you, I can show you guys how long it took to make the testing infrastructure as well.
this is if you're going to build a thing that you want to last 100 years, you need a good foundation.
So what we did to actually build this whole versioning system is we went through and actually designed the entire testing plan here. And let me find out where this file is. Salsa. Yeah, there we go. And we have a plan just for purely testing where we described exactly what we want the testing infrastructure to be. We said there's a folder called BAML test.
Anything you're going to build, and like writing testing infrastructure with code is better than writing workflows by hand. Anything you're going to build is going to benefit from a
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah. And just going to go do this and actually designing what the whole system is going to look like took forever. Like this, I think took me an entire weekend just to write the testing infrastructure. And it wasn't just about like writing the code. Writing the code was actually really fast. What took time was actually building out the developer workflow for like testing it. So I actually ignored the agent side. I just said as a human, what testing loop do I want? And I
Yeah.
just went through and like wrote through like a bunch of Rust macros to generate tests along the way. And eventually it actually just came up with its own mechanism of what it needed. We talked about what we needed from like the actual like output directory in the snapshot test. Where'd it go? Insta. And how it's created. So like Insta is this library in Rust. I would not have known about it without researching like the Astral toolchain for like UV and Rough.
Mm.
And they use Insta. So I learned that. And then we realized that not only do we want these tests, we also want performance tests. We want to guarantee that the BAML compiler is a certain level of speed. And the only way to do that is to add it to CI/CD. And the only way to do that is to have unit tests for it. So just incrementally deciding that if we're going to go build this toolchain out this way, it's all vibe coding and building toolchains for that kind of workflow. There's no shortcut here.
This is cool. Thanks for sharing this stuff. I think we're almost at time. Um, let's open it up for any last questions. Otherwise, like, I don't know. What did you learn today?
Really, the main thing I learned today was I'm going to make more Excalidraw animations.
Yeah,
It's
you
a
should
lot
do it. We'll
easier than
push
I
up the
thought.
code.
Yeah,
We'll push up the YouTube script. We'll push up a couple other random things. And yeah, let us know what you think. If you like the episode, bring a friend next time. We'll post all this stuff. I think we're gonna be sending the email a little bit later. Everyone told us to keep the production quality super scrappy, but yeah, we've decided to invest even more in the show. So first was Riverside. Now we got an editor. We're going to start putting out the YouTube videos probably a week after the episode. So all the more reason to come see it live. You'll be 10 days ahead of everybody else.
cool. Any questions from anyone? Otherwise, we'll probably take it off and then head back to work.
Do you ever do consulting work? As fun as that would be, we mostly just do the teachings for free. We're building products. Maybe
Yeah,
someday I'll be a consultant when I'm sitting on. Actually, you know what? No. Here's the plan: $1 billion company, and then just help people for free because that's what's
that's
actually really
funny.
fun and brings me a lot of joy. If you want to pay me, you can, but this is all far future. We're gonna take code layer to the moon first, take Bamble to the moon, and then maybe we'll just keep AI that works going for fun.
Yeah, we don't do consulting, but if you guys ever want, both Dexter and I have done like lunch and learns with tons of teams for different kinds of conversations. Happy to do it with another team. We've done it for I don't know if we share official teams, but like I've done it personally for like the Fortune 50s. I'm happy to do it with smaller companies as well. We learn a lot by engaging with different kinds of companies and learning from that. So like if you guys enjoy this content, enjoy doing this, invite us out to do a lunch and learn with your team as well. It's a great
Yeah,
use of time for everyone involved.
awesome. With that, we will say goodbye for this week. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks for bringing great questions. We'll send you the all the assets as soon as they're ready.
And check out the link for next week's episode. And
Yep.
next week's episode is going to be about evals for multimodal types. So that's an interesting topic. Tune in, tell your friends, and we'll send out the update soon.